Welcome back to another Mondays with Marshall. This is the third video that I've done, and I wanted to start touching on modes. And I'm sure you've heard of this musical concept, this idea. When you're first introduced to it, you're not going to know what the heck people are talking about when they say modal playing, modal exercises, or modal soloing techniques. So I'll save the theory for another video, but the basic concept is you have the diatonic scale, the major scale, and you're starting your root on a different note in that scale. And all it does is it just gives you a different gravity to the tone that you're after, the sort of harmony and flavor of notes that will be emphasized by the mode. Depends on where you put the root down. So typically in the major scale, like if we were in A major, or let's say we're in E major, the root note would be E. And then you just play an E major over that. And that's pretty straightforward because you're just going off of the root of E major. But there's 6 other modes, there's 6 other notes in the major scale to play with. So we want to have access to all those melodic and tonal possibilities. So before you can really get into trying to understand what modes are, it might be best to just see what they sound like and start developing an opinion about what you like about the modes. If there's some that you do like or don't like, it's good to at least have an idea of how those modes sound to you. So the best way that I've seen to figure this out is to play what's called a drone note. And a drone note is just a background note that's being played. Like if you don't have a bass player or you don't have the ability to loop like a rhythm part, you could just go ahead and play a drone note. That could be like a low E. Just let it play and then go through the modes one by one and see how they sound. So if I play an E and I want to see what E Aeolian sounds like, which is the sixth degree. It's a minor mode. I play the E and then the Aeolian mode over that. So that's pretty dark sounding. That is a classic minor mode. Now, what if I took one of the other two modes, like a Dorian or Phrygian mode, which has slight alterations to what Aeolian is? For example, Dorian has a major sixth instead of a minor sixth. So also starting with the E drone note. So it's a little bit brighter than the Aeolian mode, and you can tell because of that one alteration. So that's what is going to give each mode its own identity is those specific alterations that are being done to the scale. So if you were to sort of chart things out or map it out, you could think of the modes in terms of brightness. So a really bright mode would be like a Lydian mode that has a major third and a sharp 4. So it sounds something like this. So do you see how that drone note contextualizes the mode that you're in? By hitting that every once in a while, you're not going to get lost, and you can see how the alteration relates to the root or the drone note. So that's a major sixth interval relative to my drone note, which is E. Okay, so I'll go through each one of these modes right now, so you can get a sense for how they sound, but you should really experiment on your own until you have a good handle on what the different alterations are doing to the color and the flavor of the mode itself. Okay, so scale degree 1, which is the Ionian scale. Dorian, scale degree 2, which is minor. Then there's Phrygian, which is minor, a little bit darker. Okay, that's Phrygian. Here's Lydian. Then there's Mixolydian, which is major and a little less bright than Lydian. Okay, finally got it. That's Mixolydian. Okay, so you see how I'm trying to emphasize those alterations? Normally, an E major would just be, but with Mixolydian, dropping that 7th to a minor 7th. And that's the only difference between Ionian and Mixolydian. So you can just emphasize that. That alteration is what makes it Mixolydian, okay? So if I ignore that interval, no one will know I'm in Mixolydian, so it would make no difference to anyone to not hear that. Then there's Aeolian. And then finally there's Locrian, which is diminished. So you can see how this low drone technique can actually be a pretty good songwriting tool, because you immediately jump into exploring the flavor of the mode, and it's going to give you melodic harmonic ideas, because that's what you're coaxing out using that drone note. Another option to play a drone note with like a synthesizer instrument. If you're using a lot of gain, it can get kind of noisy. So I pre-recorded a synthesizer playing just a plain E note. No intervals, no extensions. I just want just that one E so that I'm able to and go exploring a little bit. So let's try that. Okay, so I think you can kind of see how that works, but the question remains: okay, how do you know what patterns to play for a given mode? And the answer for work backwards. So if I know I'm going to be in E mixolydian, for example, mixolydian is the fifth mode, it's the fifth scale degree. So the question that you should pose to yourself is, what major scale would E mixolydian be in? Okay, so you start with the E and then work backwards to what your root is. Okay, so E mixolydian, that's the fifth pattern, right? Okay, the fifth pattern in E would be, and if I work backwards and go, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, that's A major. So if it helps you to think about it that way, drone note going on in E, but you're thinking, okay, I'm actually going to be playing in the A major key, okay? Let's try another one. What if we want to do E Lydian? Okay, I know Lydian is the fourth degree, so I'll start with E being the fourth. Okay, up here. 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's a B. So again, play my own in E, but I'm actually thinking in my head, I'm really in B major scale. Okay, so I'll focus on that. Gives a little bit of a different flavor. And if you get really good at this, you can start doing that composers and jazz musicians use all the time, called change or pitch axis theory. The idea is that you have a single note, you're like sticking a pitchfork in the ground, I guess you could say, and just rotating around it in terms of the modes that you're using. So I'm never really straying away from E, but the modes that I'm using are the ones that are changing. Okay, Stevie Wonder uses modal interchange all the time. It sounds incredible. Okay, so that's all I really wanted to show you guys. The modes are really just based off of the 7 patterns of the major scale. So if you know those, you can think of each pattern as a new mode, but just make sure you're playing it in the right key. Okay, so usually that will be determined by the key center of the song or the chords that are being played. So we'll talk more about the theory behind all of that side of things in an upcoming video. But for now, you should hook up the drone note, have a bass player play it, or if you have another buddy who plays guitar, they can just drone a note for you, or you can go take turns going back and forth. Or if you can get a synthesizer looping a note, that's another great way to do it. So have fun with that, and thanks for tuning in.